Welcome to Mysterious Universe, where curiosity meets science, and imagination blends with reality. Today, we ask one of the most exciting questions of our time. Could humans actually live on the moon? Not just visit. Not just plant a flag. But truly build a new home, survive, and even thrive, on the dusty, cratered surface of our nearest celestial neighbor. For decades, the moon has been a symbol of dreams and ambitions. Since Neil Armstrong took his first step in 1969, humanity has looked to the moon with awe. But in recent years, that awe has turned into action. NASA, SpaceX, China, Europe, they're all racing to return to the moon. But why? Because this time, we're not just going back to explore. We're going back to stay. But before we talk about living there, we must understand, the moon is not Earth. It's a harsh environment with no atmosphere, deadly radiation, extreme temperatures, and zero natural life support. So why are scientists and engineers around the world pouring billions into lunar colonization? Because what lies on the moon might just be the key to the future of humanity. In this video, we'll take you through a fascinating journey, from the science behind lunar survival to the cutting-edge technologies being developed to build our first moon bases. We'll explore real challenges: oxygen, food, water, radiation, gravity. And we'll uncover the latest solutions: lava tube habitats, 3D printing, nuclear power, and space farming. So buckle up and get ready to challenge your assumptions. Could the moon really be our second home? Or will it always remain just a glowing mystery in the sky? If you're fascinated by space, science, and the future of humanity, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video. Let's launch this journey together. The moon may be beautiful from afar, but up close, it's one of the most hostile environments imaginable. Unlike Earth, it has no atmosphere, which means no breathable air, no protection from radiation, and no weather to regulate temperature. In fact, the temperature on the moon can swing from 127 degrees Celsius (260 degrees Fahrenheit) in sunlight to minus 173 degrees Celsius minus 280 degrees Fahrenheit in darkness. Imagine trying to build a house in conditions like that. Radiation is perhaps the most dangerous threat. Without an atmosphere or magnetic field like Earth's, the moon is constantly bombarded by cosmic rays and solar radiation. A single extended exposure could severely damage human cells or even be fatal. To survive, we need either massive shielding, like underground shelters or thick-walled habitats, or build bases in lunar lava tubes, natural caves formed by ancient volcanic activity. Then there's gravity. The moon's gravity is only 1/6 that of Earth, which sounds fun for astronauts bouncing around. But over time, low gravity can wreak havoc on human health, weakening muscles, reducing bone density, and even affecting vision and circulation. We need to develop exercise protocols and possibly even artificial gravity zones to maintain health. And then there's the lunar dust, fine, clingy, and sharp. Apollo astronauts reported it stuck to everything, irritated their lungs, and even wore through layers of spacesuits. Any future moon base must have advanced airlocks and dust control systems. These aren't just inconveniences, they are survival challenges. But if history has taught us anything, it's that humans are remarkably resilient and endlessly inventive. And the moon, despite its dangers, offers unique opportunities that might make it worth the risk. When people imagine living on the moon, one of the first things they get excited about is the idea of low gravity. After all, lunar gravity is only about 16.5% of Earth's gravity. That means you could jump 6 times higher, carry heavy equipment with ease, and move around with a sense of superhuman strength. It sounds like fun, even liberating. But from a physiological standpoint, it's a silent threat. You see, our bodies have evolved over millions of years specifically to function under Earth's gravity. Everything from your skeletal system to your circulatory and nervous systems are tuned to 1G. Once you remove or reduce that gravitational pull, things begin to deteriorate, and fast. Astronauts aboard the International Space Station, which experiences microgravity, lose up to 20% of their muscle mass in less than 2 weeks. Bone density follows a similar trajectory, dropping at a rate of 1 to 2% per month, particularly in weight-bearing bones like the spine, pelvis, and legs. Imagine spending 6 months on the moon and returning with a skeletal structure as fragile as a 90-year-old's. But it's not just about bones and muscles. Your entire circulatory system begins to shift. Blood that normally pools in your lower extremities gets redistributed toward your head. The result? Swollen faces, pressure in the skull, vision impairment, and even cognitive issues. This is known as spaceflight-associated neuroocular syndrome, SANS, and it's still not fully understood. Long-term exposure to low gravity can also weaken the heart. Without needing to pump blood against gravity, the heart muscle atrophies. Combine this with the risk of irregular heartbeat, low blood pressure, and dizziness upon returning to Earth, and you begin to see how dangerous it is to spend extended periods off-planet. So, can we counteract these effects? To some extent, yes. Current solutions include rigorous daily exercise. Astronauts spend 2 hours per day on cardio and resistance training. Nutritional support, diets rich in calcium, vitamin D, and protein to minimize bone loss. Pharmaceuticals, drugs that inhibit bone resorption or promote bone formation. Artificial gravity. Proposed lunar habitats may one day include rotating sections that simulate gravity using centrifugal force. But all of these are temporary measures. None are perfect. And none are sustainable for multi-year settlements or lunar colonization. In short, gravity, or the lack thereof, is a serious roadblock to lunar life. Without major medical and engineering breakthroughs, humans will struggle to adapt to the moon's low-gravity environment. And this is only one piece of the puzzle. Because even if we solve the gravity problem, we're still vulnerable to something far more dangerous: radiation. In Part 3, we'll dive into the invisible yet deadly threat that space throws at anyone daring enough to leave Earth's protective shield. Let's talk about something you can't see, smell, or touch, but it could kill you slowly and painfully: radiation. On Earth, we live under the protection of two shields, the atmosphere and the magnetic field. Together, they block out the vast majority of harmful cosmic rays and solar radiation. But on the moon, there is no atmosphere and no magnetic field. Which means up there, you're completely exposed. Space is constantly bombarding the moon with two major types of radiation: solar particle events, SPs, from the Sun, and galactic cosmic rays, GCRs, from distant supernovae. These high-energy particles travel at nearly the speed of light and can tear through human tissue, damage DNA, and increase the risk of cancer, cardiovascular disease, and neurological damage. Unlike Earth, the moon offers no natural protection. During a solar flare, a burst of charged particles from the Sun can hit the moon with devastating intensity. On Earth, we barely feel it. On the moon, without shelter, you could receive a lethal dose of radiation in just a few hours. So, what can we do about it? Well, NASA and other space agencies are developing several protective strategies. Regolith shielding. One promising idea is to bury habitats beneath several feet of lunar soil, regolith, which can absorb and deflect some radiation. It's heavy, but it's abundant on the moon. And using local material means not having to launch it from Earth. Water-based shielding. Water is excellent at blocking radiation, and some habitat designs propose lining walls with water tanks. The downside? Water is incredibly heavy and difficult to transport to the moon. Artificial magnetic fields, still theoretical, but researchers are exploring the idea of generating small, localized magnetic fields around habitats to mimic Earth's protective magnetosphere. Even if we build shielded structures, astronauts will still need to venture outside to explore, collect samples, build infrastructure, or maintain equipment. That means wearing suits that are only partially protective, and facing time limits before radiation doses become dangerous. Let's talk numbers. On Earth, the average person receives about 2.4 millisieverts, MSV, of radiation per year. On the Moon, unshielded astronauts could receive 300 to 400 MSV in just 6 months. That's more than 100 times higher. For reference, a cumulative dose of 1000 MSV increases cancer risk by about 5%. This isn't just a health risk. It's also a logistical nightmare. Lunar missions must be carefully timed to avoid solar storms, and lunar bases will need to incorporate real-time space weather monitoring, with protocols for emergency shelter if a storm is incoming. In short, radiation is the single biggest long-term threat to living on the Moon. Unlike microgravity, there is no biological adaptation to radiation. We either shield against it, or we don't survive. But even if we solve the radiation problem, by burying habitats, using water walls, or living in lava tubes, we still face a basic, inescapable challenge. How do we eat, drink, and breathe on a world that offers none of those things? That's what we'll explore in Part 4, Life Support, Creating Earth in a Box. Now that we've dealt with radiation, let's tackle a question that's even more fundamental. How do we survive day to day on the Moon? We're talking air to breathe, water to drink, and food to eat. On Earth, these things are everywhere. On the Moon, they don't exist naturally. If we want to live there, we'll need to create a closed ecosystem, an artificial Earth inside a box. Let's begin with the most urgent need: oxygen. The Moon has no breathable atmosphere. The vacuum outside would suffocate a human in seconds. So inside any habitat, we'll need to generate and recycle oxygen constantly. There are several ways to do this. Electrolysis of water. If we have water, more on that in a moment, we can split it into hydrogen and oxygen using electricity, ideally powered by solar panels. Chemical recycling. Systems like the ones used on the International Space Station, ISS, can scrub carbon dioxide from the air and recycle it back into oxygen using solid amine beds or Sabatier reactors. Plants. Growing plants not only provides food but also helps recycle air. They absorb CO2 and release O2, a beautiful natural symbiosis that we might recreate in lunar greenhouses. Next is water. Sending water from Earth is impractical, it's heavy, expensive, and not sustainable long term. Fortunately, there's a breakthrough: the Moon has water ice. In permanently shadowed craters near the lunar poles, scientists have detected frozen water mixed with soil. The plan? Use robotic excavators to dig up this regolith and then heat it to extract water vapor. That vapor can be purified into drinkable water or broken down into oxygen and hydrogen for breathing and fuel. Then there's food. Transporting prepackaged meals from Earth works for short-term missions, but not for a permanent colony. So, what are the options? Hydroponics and aeroponics. These are soil-free growing techniques that use nutrient-rich water or mist. They're efficient, recyclable, and perfect for lunar conditions. Algae and fungi, while not gourmet. These organisms grow fast, require little space, and offer high nutritional value. Spirulina and chlorella are already being tested as space food. Vertical farming. Multi-level growing systems could be integrated into lunar habitats to maximize food production in minimal space. Finally, we need to manage waste and resources. That means recycling everything, from air and water to human waste. Closed-loop systems will have to mimic nature, turning waste into nutrients, just like Earth's ecosystems do. But here's the kicker. All of this requires energy. And on the Moon, power isn't always available. During the 14-day lunar night, solar panels are useless. So, we'll need energy storage, nuclear backup, or even systems that track the sun across the lunar surface. Surviving on the Moon isn't just about living, it's about building an entire ecosystem from scratch. It's the ultimate challenge of human engineering and ingenuity. And yet, if we get it right, this could become a blueprint for future space settlements, on Mars, Europa, or even planets orbiting distant stars. But before we pack our bags, there's one final obstacle to discuss: our bodies. Can the human body endure months, or years, of lunar gravity? That's the mystery we'll unravel in Part 5, Human Health in Low Gravity. Now we arrive at the most personal, and perhaps the most overlooked question in lunar colonization. Can the human body survive and thrive in lunar gravity? The Moon's gravitational force is only about 1/6 that of Earth, roughly 16.5%. That may sound like a fun playground environment at first. After all, you could leap 6 times higher and carry massive weights with ease. But gravity is more than just a force. It's a fundamental condition that shapes how our bodies function. And when it changes, everything changes. Let's begin with our muscles and bones. On Earth, our muscles are in a constant battle with gravity. Standing, walking, and even sitting activate postural muscles that keep us stable. On the Moon, that resistance is almost gone. Without enough physical stress, muscles begin to atrophy. Studies from the International Space Station show that even a few weeks in microgravity can cause up to 20% muscle loss, especially in the legs and back. The same goes for bones. Without weight-bearing activities, astronauts lose 1 to 2% of bone mass per month, particularly in the hips and spine. The solution? Daily exercise, rigorous, targeted, and consistent. Lunar bases would need full fitness facilities, including resistance machines, treadmills with harnesses, and possibly even centrifugal chambers that simulate higher gravity during workouts. Next is the cardiovascular system. In low gravity, fluids in the body shift upward. Your face puffs up. Your legs thin out. Your heart doesn't have to work as hard to pump blood from the feet to the brain. Over time, the heart muscle can shrink, leading to orthostatic intolerance, difficulty standing upright without fainting upon return to Earth. To combat this, we need countermeasures like compression suits and interval training. Then comes the vestibular system, our sense of balance. Lunar gravity is just enough to cause confusion. It's not zero gravity, but not enough for our inner ears to orient properly either. Astronauts often suffer from space motion sickness during adaptation. Long-term settlers would need time and potentially new training protocols to retrain their balance and coordination. What about immune function and mental health? Space travel is stressful. Isolation, confinement, lack of natural light, and disrupted sleep cycles can lead to depression, anxiety, and weakened immunity. Lunar habitats must be designed with natural circadian lighting, private spaces, and group recreational areas. Communication with Earth will help, but so will AI companions, virtual reality entertainment, and structured routines to maintain a sense of normalcy. Lastly, there's reproduction and genetics. We don't yet know how lunar gravity affects pregnancy, child development, or long-term DNA expression. These are profound questions with ethical implications. Will humans born on the Moon be genetically different? Will they be able to return to Earth? Until we have answers, multi-generational lunar colonies remain a dream, not a reality. So, could we really live on the Moon? Biologically, it's a stretch, but not impossible. With the right technology, discipline, and innovation, we can adapt our Earth-born bodies to thrive in alien environments. But that brings us to our final question: should we? What's the purpose of living on the Moon? What do we stand to gain, or lose? Let's wrap it all up in our final reflection, coming up next. We've examined the facts. The Moon is close, yet distant in every meaningful way. It's harsh, cold, and lifeless. But it is also real, reachable, and full of promise. And as we stand at the edge of a new era in space exploration, one question echoes louder than any other. Why should we go? Why leave our blue planet to build homes in barren dust? Why struggle to breathe in domes, to survive with limited water and artificial sunrises? Why gamble with our biology and sanity in an environment never meant for us? Because it's in our nature. Humanity has always looked beyond. From the moment our ancestors left the forests of Africa to cross vast oceans, to when we first flew through the skies, we have been explorers, builders, dreamers. And the moon is not just a rock in the sky, it is a mirror of who we are. It challenges us to become more than what we've been. But the moon also offers us something critical, a second chance. A chance to learn how to live sustainably in a closed ecosystem. A chance to build clean technologies, circular economies, and life support systems we desperately need here on Earth. The moon is not a getaway from our problems, it's a laboratory for solutions. And let's be honest, we need hope. In a world fractured by conflict, overwhelmed by climate change, and distracted by division, a unified mission to the moon could unite us. No longer as competing nations, but as a single species, reaching outward together. Imagine a generation of children growing up watching humanity not destroy, but create, not take, but protect. But none of this will happen by accident. It starts with curiosity, with learning, with people like you watching, questioning, imagining. If this video sparked even one new question in your mind, what would it feel like to walk on lunar soil? What would our first home there look like? Could I be part of that future? Then you've already taken the first step. Now take the next. White heavy checkmark. Subscribe to Mysterious Universe so you don't miss the next chapter in humanity's journey to the stars. Thumbs up like this video if you believe we were meant for something greater. Repeat button. Share it with someone who's ever looked up at the moon and wondered, what if? Because the moon isn't just our nearest neighbor. It's our next horizon. And in crossing it, we rediscover not just the galaxy, but ourselves. Let's go together. One step at a time. One dream at a time. Telescope. This is Mysterious Universe. Thank you for watching.